I mentioned to you guys the other day that you want to squat, if you can, to eliminate, right? That's squatting on your feet on the toilet seat, if you're able to, because you're changing the position of your pelvis, and that means you've got a straight exit path. And what we're trying to do is to make it as easy as possible for the body to eliminate everything it needs to eliminate, because the thing to do is to allow the body to do what it needs to do. The problem with colonics and enemas is that we are not only theoretically flushing out whatever material might be in the colon, but we are also flushing out beneficial bacteria which live there. We're changing the pH of the colon, and we're weakening the bowel muscle. So, is one going to hurt you? Probably not. But there are studies that show now that repeated use of colon hydrotherapy weakens the bowel, and you wind up with poorer bowel function. So Herbert Shelton, the American naturopath, is credited with bringing fasting back to the popular culture, back to our culture, experimented with this and found consistently that people who used hydrotherapy had poorer bowel function afterward than people who did not. And in fact, first of all, let me explain something simple. Our digestive tract, from northern to southern exit, is roughly 32 feet, okay, almost 10 meters, for those of you not from the US. That's pretty long, and it's very long compared to other animals. If this table were a 500-pound tiger, its digestive tract from one end to the other would be 12 feet long, okay? Your digestive tract is nearly 3 times longer, although you are 1/4 of this thing's size. Not you. You. You're half this thing's size. Why? Why is yours so much longer when you're so much smaller than this thing is? Well, carnivores consuming a high-protein diet creates dozens of toxic byproducts, and they have to get these toxins out of the body as quickly as possible. Anybody have a dog?
Yeah.
Okay, you feed your dog. 2 hours later, you take it for a walk, and what happens? There goes the dinner. Okay? It's ejecting very quickly what it just ate. In a healthy human body, it's 8 to 12 hours from one end to the other. 8 to 12 hours in a healthy body. In an average body, a typical body, it's 4 days, which is 8 to 12 times longer than it should be. Now, the reason that happens is very simple. In order to move things efficiently through the system, what we're eating has to contain high water and high fiber content. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to move it through these long tubes efficiently. Okay? Most people eat food that's almost devoid in water and fiber, and this is why stuff gets stuck, and stuff gets stuck. We had this conversation for those of you that are new just the other day. All the people that had already fasted here, I said, is there old stuff in the body? They all said, yes, there is, because they all eliminated a bunch of it. Okay, it's there. You don't have to believe me, it's okay. If you follow my coaching, by the time you leave here, you will have eliminated pounds of it, many pounds of it, and you'll know. It will happen when you're refeeding. Okay, it will happen only when you're refeeding. For most of you, you're not going to have a bowel movement until you're 3-4 days into the process. Most people are walking around with the sold material. That's happening as a result of what they ate. Can you not use an enema or a colonic to flush this stuff out? Well, you want to understand the anatomy of the system. The large intestine is roughly the length of your height. So in my case, about 6 feet long. The small intestine is most of the rest. There's a valve between the two. It occurs in your right groin. It's called the ileocecal valve. Theoretically, nothing goes backwards. So when you do a colonic, you're not affecting the small intestine. You're affecting only the colon. Okay? Now, the colon is relatively straight. And again, I know this is a review for some of you guys, but comes up, ascending colon comes across, transverse colon comes down, comes over and out. There's a couple of turns. Even the 90-degree turns have sort of a gentle loop. The small intestine between the ileocecal valve and the bottom of the stomach, there's like 20 feet of small intestine. in that space, right? On my long body, that's a lot of stuff jammed into about 12 inches. It's all twists and turns. It's 1/3 the diameter of the large. Where do you think the stuff is going to get stuck? Remember, I mentioned to you, we had somebody last year that had no colon, had stuff coming from the small intestine into the bag every day. Okay? A colonic, the enema, will not affect the small intestine. And that's where all the stuff is. So you're not doing much, you're not getting much benefit because you're not affecting most of what's present. You're flushing out bacteria, beneficial bacteria. You're changing the pH, you're weakening the muscle. And for what? To have poorer bowel function afterward. We don't need to do any of that. Okay? What we need to do, remember, right? My perspective, hopefully what helped get you here, is the idea that health is the result of meeting the body's needs. Okay? And cleansing and healing happens when we get out of the body's way and let our virtually infinitely intelligent bodies do what they and only they are able to do. We don't need to do anything except get out of the body's way. If you fast long enough, and most of you are fasting long enough, and you sip the water that you need to, your body's going to break the stuff down, you're going to hydrate it, and you're going to eliminate it. And you don't need the colonic or the enema. You just don't need it. Okay? If you use it, you're actually damaging your system. Yeah.
Good question. So is it safe to assume that as you're taking in the water, that this stuff that's stuck starts to slowly absorb it and absorb it? And
yes.
By the time you get to the refeeding, that's what kind of sets it free?
Yeah, it's usually the presence of food coming in that helps to sweep it through. But there's two reasons for that. One of them is because the food coming through, you're eating food that has fiber in it, but even with coconut water, I mean, the truth is that if you have no strong preference when it's your time to refeed, I haven't kept hard data on this, but it seems clear that people who drink coconut water the first day eliminate faster, and there's very little fiber there. But what's different about that from drinking water is that the coconut water is food, and it all goes all the way through your digestive tract. So it's encountering any old material there. When you drink water, it goes into your stomach, goes into the small intestine, and is absorbed into the bloodstream. So it doesn't all go all the way through those 32 feet of digestive tract. Your body then sends water to wherever it needs it to go, including to the digestive tract. But when you drink coconut water or you eat watermelon, all of the water in that meal is going all the way through your system. Anything it encounters that's ready to absorb water is going to absorb water. And so it's able to move more quickly that way. Okay? So, again, for those of you that just arrived, we don't actually expect to see much elimination after about 3 or 4 days fasting. Some of you are going to eliminate the first few days. There won't be much more elimination after day 4 for most of you. If you're fasting 21 days, most people don't eliminate after the 4th day until they're about 4 days into refeeding. Some on 3, very few on 1 or 2, some on day 3, most on day 4, some day 5, 6, or 7. The longer the fast is, the greater the likelihood of eliminating while fasting, because your body has the time to break it down and hydrate it. So if there's enough time breaking it down and hydrating it, you will eliminate while fasting. And guys, remember, the longest fast I ever supervised was 18.5 weeks, 4.5 months. The guy had a bowel movement in the 18th week. Yeah.
Have you heard of the amazing gallstone flush thing?
Of course.
You have a comment on that?
Yep, not so amazing. It's mostly olive oil,
Right.
And bile. And if you put those gallstones on a plate at room temperature, they'll melt.
So they're not real gallstones, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not gallstones. Okay, there's no amazing anything, right? There's no miraculous cures. Okay, the best we can do is get out of the body's way and let it do what it needs to do. Everything else, this stuff is always going to be popular because people want shortcuts. They're looking for magic bullets. They don't exist. But people want to believe this stuff. They want to believe there's something magic that's going to heal them. There isn't. Healing's a biological process. The organism is self-healing. Anything that appear, medicinal substances, substances that appear to heal you, are substances which are toxic to your body, which your body is reacting to in a way that creates symptomatic relief. There are no exceptions that I'm aware of. Zero. Okay? We don't need to flush the body or cleanse the body. We see people here all the time, as you can imagine, because, and I think things have changed a little bit. I mean, I think it's thanks to the popularity of intermittent fasting. The word fasting has become part of the vocabulary of our culture. Whereas, 20 years ago, people are like, fasting? What are you, insane? Retarded? What are you talking about? Right now, everyone hears about intermittent fasting, and so going from intermittent fasting to, instead of 18 hours, going to 18 days, maybe they can wrap their head around that in a way that wasn't true before. Okay? But this is a relatively recent change, and I think that's a good thing. It's a good thing that it's changing. Hopefully people will become more and more open to it. But the bottom line is, remember, fasting is simply allowing your self-healing body the right conditions and opportunity to do what only the body can do. There's nothing else that's going to do it for you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this Gerson therapy where they use coffee enema?
I'm sorry, Gerson?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
coffee enema they use.
Sure. Yeah, there's nothing like waking up your colon in the morning. Right?
Actually, I tried that for a few days.
I don't agree with Gerson. They do black coffee. I prefer the mocha caramel latte. Personally.
Cappuccino.
Yeah, exactly. What can I say? I've got a sophisticated colon. It's got good taste. Coffee is toxic to the body. Caffeine and other chemicals in coffee are toxins. They're toxic stimulants to the body. We don't need to do that. Okay, we don't need to do that. Now, I mean, the Gerson program is a lot better in most cases than chemotherapy and radiation, which we talked about yesterday, because those things are incredibly destructive to the body. But there's a better way. Fasting. Fasting is the best way to deal with cancer, in my opinion.
Yeah, actually, I tried that for a week, and after that, when I went for my thyroid checkup, my readings were skyrocketing. It was very bad.
Right. Well, there's really no way you should be consuming coffee, no matter which opening it is, because it's blowing your body. Yeah. All right. So I started to say, what was I saying? So because fasting has always been considered pretty radical until recently, a lot of the people that came here, this was like their last resort. They tried everything else. They tried all the flushes, all the cleanses, all the stuff, and they still didn't get what they want, and then they do. And that's why I can say authoritatively, I mean, having fasted thousands of people, I fasted many people who tried the liver, gallbladder flushes, the master cleanse, all this stuff, and still didn't get what they wanted, and then they got it done fasting 21 days or more. There's nothing even remotely as powerful. That's why I'm still doing this.